Hello dear students, myself Niyati Thakur, and today we are going to learn more about Cpcsea guidelines. Let us now understand the rules for animal husbandry. So in that, caging and housing of animals. How should be the caging of housing system? The cages should be designed carefully to facilitate animal well-being, meet research requirements, and minimize experimental variables. The housing system should provide space that is adequate, permit freedom of movement and normal postural adjustment, and have a resting place appropriate to the species. The housing system should provide a comfortable environment, provide an escape-proof enclosure that confines animal safety, provide easy access to food and water, and adequate ventilation. It should also meet the biological needs of animal like maintenance of body temperature, urination, defecation, and reproduction. It should keep the animals dry and clean and consistent with species requirement. It should also facilitate research while maintaining good health of animals. The cages should be constructed of sturdy, durable materials and designed to minimize cross-infection between adjoining units. Propylene, polypropylene, polycarbonate, and stainless steel cages should be used to house small laboratory animals, whereas monkeys should be housed in cases made up of steel or painted mild steel, and for other animals such as sheep, horses, etc. To simplify servicing and sanitation, cages should have smooth, impervious surfaces that neither attract nor retain dirt, and a minimum number of ledges, angles, and corners in which dirt or water can accumulate. The design should allow inspection of cage occupants without disturbing them. Feeding and watering devices should be easily accessible for filling, changing, cleaning, and servicing. Cages, runs, and pens must be kept in good condition to prevent injuries to animals, promote physical comfort, and facilitate sanitation and services. Particular attention must be given to eliminate sharp edges and broken wires, keeping cage floors in good condition. International guidelines can be referred from time to time to improve caging facilities. Sheltered or outdoor housing. When the animals are maintained in outdoor runs, pens, or other large enclosures, there must be protection from extremes in temperature or other harsh weather condition, and adequate protective and escape mechanism for submissive animals, especially in case of monkeys, by way of providing indoor portion of run. Shelter should have sufficient ventilation and should be designed to prevent accumulation of waste material and excessive moisture. Houses, dens, boxes, shells, perches, and other furnishing should be constructed in a manner and made up of material that allow cleaning or replacement in accordance with generally accepted husbandry practices where the furnishings are soiled or worn out. Ground level services of outdoor housing facilities can be cemented or covered by absorbent bedding, sand, gravel, grass, or similar material that can be removed or replaced when that is needed to ensure appropriate sanitation. Accumulation of animal waste and stagnant water should be avoided. For example, using contoured or drained surface. Other surfaces should be able to withstand the animals and elements and easily maintained. In case of open runs of macaques, it is obvious in our country to have outside animal and local macaques frequently the colony pens and runs, increasing risk of contracting contagious diseases. And hence it is advisable to cover such open pens with additional layer of material like double fencing to separate outside animals physically from the animals belonging to colony. Initiation of such practices may reduce spread of infectious diseases like tuberculosis, which is found more frequently in Indian colonies of macaques in various establishments and thought to be unavoidable. Now let us understand the social environment of cages. The social environment includes all interactions amongst individuals of a group or among those able to communicate. The effects of social environment in caged animals vary with the species. In selecting a suitable social environment, attention should be given whether the animals are naturally territorial or communal, and accordingly they should be housed in single or in groups. When appropriate, group housing should be considered for communal animals. In grouping animals, it is important to take into account population density and ability to disperse, initial familiarity amongst animals, and age, sex, and social rank. Population density can affect reproduction, metabolism, immune responses, and behavior. Group composition should be held as stable as possible, particularly for canine, non-human primates, and other highly social mammals, because mixing of groups or introducing new members can alter behavioral and physiological functions. Non-human primates should have run for free-ranging activities. Next is activity. Provision should be made for animals with specialized locomotor pattern to express their natural habitat, especially when the animals are held for long period of time, like artificial trees, ropes, bars, and perches, and appropriate for non-human primates. Cages are often used for short term, up to 3 months. Housing of dogs and may be necessary for post-surgical care, isolation of sick dogs, and metabolic studies. Pens, runs, or Other out-of-cage space provide more opportunity for exercise, and their use is encouraged when holding dogs for long periods. The next is food or feed. Animals should be fed with palatable, non-contaminated and nutritionally adequate food daily unless the experimental protocol requires otherwise. Feeders should allow easy access while avoiding contamination by urine and feces. Food should be provided in sufficient amount to ensure natural growth in immature animals and to maintain normal body weight, reproduction and lactation in adults. Food should contain adequate nutrition with proper formulation and preparation and ensure free from chemical and microbiological contaminants. Bioavailability of nutrients should be at par with the nutritional requirement of the animals. The animal feed should contain moisture, crude fiber, crude protein, essential vitamins, minerals, crude fat and carbohydrate for providing appropriate nutrition. Laboratory animal diets should not be manufactured or stored in facilities used earlier for farm feeds or any other product containing additives such as rodenticide, insecticide, hormone, antibiotics, fumigants or other potential toxins. Areas in which diets are processed or stored should be kept clean and enclosed to prevent entry of insects or other animals. Precaution should be taken if perishable items such as meat, fruits and vegetables are fed because these are potential sources of microbiological and chemical contamination and can also lead to various variations in the amount of nutrition consumed. Diet should be ideally free from heavy metals like lead, arsenic, cadmium, nickel, mercury, etc. Also, the diet should be free from naturally occurring toxins and other contaminants. Exposure to extremes of relative humidity, unsanitary condition, light, oxygen and insect hastens the deterioration of food. Meat, fruits, vegetables and other perishable items should be refrigerated if required to be stored. Unused open food should be stored in vermin-proof condition to minimize contamination and to avoid potential spread of disease-causing agents. Food hoppers should not be transferred from one room to other unless they are clean and properly sanitized. The guidelines for bedding. Bedding should be absorbent, free from toxic chemicals and other substances that cause irritation, injure animals or personnel, and of type not readily eaten by animals. Bedding should be used in amounts sufficient to keep animals dry between cage changes without coming into contact with watering tubes. Bedding should be removed and replaced periodically and fresh materials as often as necessary to keep the animals clean and dry. The frequency is matter of professional judgment of animal care personnel in consultation with the investigation depending upon number of animals and size of cages. In general, it is ideal to change the bedding twice a week or whenever required. The desirable criteria for rodent contact bedding is ammonia binding. They should be sterilizable, deleterious product not formed as a result of sterilization, easily stored, non-desiccating to animals, uncontaminated, unlikely to be chewed or mouthed, non-toxic, non-malodorous, nestable, disposable by incineration, readily available, remain stable during use, manifest batch uniformity, optimizes normal animal behavior, non-deleterious to cage, washers, non-injurious and non-hazardous to personal, non-nutritious and non-palatable. Nesting material for newly delivered pups should be provided whenever needed, like paper cutting, tissue paper, cotton, etc. The water requirements. Animals should have continuous access to fresh, potable, uncontaminated drinking water according to their requirement. Periodic monitoring of microbial contamination in water is necessary. Watering devices such as drinking nozzles and automatic waterers should be examined routinely to ensure their proper operation. Sometimes it is necessary to train animals to drink water from automatic watering devices. Animals should receive appropriate, uncontaminated, and nutritionally adequate food according to accepted requirements for this species. The food should be in sufficient quantity and of appropriate composition to maintain normal growth of immature animal, normal weight of adult animal, or provide the requirements of pregnancy or lactation. When animals are fed in group, there should be sufficiently trough space or feeding point to cater to the number and size of animal that eat together at one time so as to avoid undesirable competition for food, especially if feed is restricted. Uneaten, perishable food should be removed promptly unless contrary to the eating habits or needs of species. Any alteration to dietary regimens should be gradual. Sanitation and cleanliness. Sanitation is an essential activity in an animal facility. Animal rooms, corridors, storage spaces, and other areas should be properly cleaned with appropriate detergents and disinfectants as often as necessary to keep them free of dirt, debris, and harmful agents of contamination. Cleaning utensils such as mops, pails, and brooms should not be transported between animal rooms. Where animal waste is removed by hosing or flushing, this should be done at least twice a day. Animals should be kept drying during such procedure. For larger animals such as dogs, cats, or non-human primates, soil litter material should be removed twice daily. Cages should be sanitized before animals are placed in them. Animal cages, racks, and accessory equipment such as feeders and watering devices should be washed and sanitized frequently to keep them clean and contamination free. Generally, this can be achieved by washing solid bottom rodent cages and accessories once or twice a week and cages, racks at least monthly. Wire bottom cages other than rodent cages should be washed every week or at least every twice week. It is good practice to have extra cages available at all times so that a systematic cage washing schedule can be maintained. Cages can be disinfected by rinsing at a high temperature or higher, like 82.2 degrees Celsius, for longer period of time, enough to ensure the destruction of vegetative pathogenic organisms. Disinfection can be accomplished with appropriate chemicals. Equipments should be rinsed free of chemicals prior to use. Periodic microbiological monitoring is useful to determine the efficacy of disinfection or sterilization procedure. Rabbits and some rodents, such as guinea pig, mice, and hamsters, produce urine with high concentration of proteins, ammonia, and minerals. Minerals and organic compounds in urine of these animals often adhere to the cage surfaces and necessitate treatment with acid solution before washing. Water bottles, zipper nozzle stoppers, and other watering equipment should be washed and then sanitized by rinsing with water of at least 82.2 degrees Celsius or appropriated chemical agents like sodium hypochlorite to destroy pathogenic organisms if bottles are washed by hand. Mechanized brushes at the washing sink are useful, and provision should be made for dipping or soaking the water bottles in detergents and disinfectant solutions. A two-compartment sink or tub is adequate for this purpose. Some means of sterilizing equipments and supply, such as autoclave or gaseous sterilization, is essential when pathogenic organisms are present. Routine sterilization of cages, feed, and bedding is also essential. Besides, care is taken to use clean materials from reliable sources. Where hazardous biological, chemical, or physical agents are used, a system of equipment monitoring might be appropriate. Deodorants or chemicals other than germicidal agents should not be used to mask animal odors. Such products are not a substitute for good sanitation. The next section is accessing and assessing the effectiveness of sanitation. Sanitation practices should be monitored appropriately to ensure effectiveness of the process and materials being clean. It can include visual inspection of materials, monitoring of water temperature, or microbiological monitoring. The intensity of animal odors, particularly that of ammonia, should not be used as sole means of assessing the effectiveness of sanitation program. A decision to change the frequency of such bedding changes or cage washing should be based on the factors such as the concentration of ammonia, appearance of cage, condition of bedding, number and size of animals housed in the cage. Chemical indicators can be used for assessing autoclaving or autoclaves or autoclave cycles. Batch-wise assessment should be done, and biological indicators can be used where periodical assessment is necessary. Waste disposal. Waste should be removed regularly and frequently. All waste should be collected and disposed of in a safe and sanitary manner. The most preferred method of waste disposal is incineration. Incinerators should be in compliance with all central, state and local public health and pollution control board regulations. Waste containers including animal tissues, carcasses and hazardous waste should be lined with leak-proof disposable liners. If waste must be stored before removal, the wastage storage area should be separated from all other storage facilities and free of flies, cockroaches, rodents and other vermin. Cold storage might be necessary to prevent decomposition of biological waste. Hazardous waste should be rendered safe by disinfection, decontamination or other appropriate means before they are disposed of from an animal facility. Pest control. Adaptation of programs designed to prevent, control or eliminate the presence of or infestation by pests are essential in an animal house. Best results can be achieved by giving contracts to people or firms specialized in pest control. Emergency weekend and holiday care. There should be an institutional policy to care animals by qualified personnel every day, including weekends and holidays, to safeguard their well-being, including emergency veterinary care. In the event of an emergency, institutional security personnel or fire or police official should be able to reach responsible persons for the animal. They can be enhanced by prominently posting emergency procedures, names or telephone numbers in animal facilities or by placing them in the security department or near telephone. A disaster plan that takes into account both personnel and animals should be prepared as a part of overall safety plan for animal facility. Thank you.